All right. I'm flying solo today, but it's because I'm super excited. This is going to be a really fun conversation. What I want to talk about is the power of endurance. I love the concept of endurance and what it means and how impactful it has been on my life. For those of you that don't know, I really like ultra running. And I've ran several ultras, I've ran several marathons. But in March, I ran a 100-mile ultra marathon called the Buffalo Run 100. It's on Antelope Island in Salt Lake City. And it was a really profound experience for me. And I've paid a lot of attention to the lessons that I learned during that experience and some of the takeaways. And then have, figured out ways to kind of apply that to life and business and things like that. And over again, the most resounding theme, the thing that pops up time and time again for me, is this concept of endurance and the idea that if we can just endure, if we can stick it out through the hard times, if we can get through the tough times, if we can just keep going, what a massive impact that makes on so many of our lives and in so many different facets of our lives. This idea of endurance, I think most people think of it from an athletic perspective. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is how the concept of endurance is not just an athletic perspective, but how it can impact our careers and our businesses and our finances and our relationships and all of these great things. I saw the other day a Latin phrase, and it goes fortitudine vincimus. And it translates to through endurance we conquer. And I loved that because it gives us hope that we don't have to be more talented than anybody. We don't have to have more resources than anybody. We don't have to be, set up for success in any way other than we already are. If we can just figure out how to simply keep going, we will conquer. And I love that. But what is endurance? Endurance is the ability to withstand hardship or adversity, especially the ability to sustain a prolonged stressful effort or activity. And I've been thinking a lot about how this concept of endurance can impact the other components of our lives. And so what I did is I actually did some research to figure out the impact of endurance elsewhere. And I'm going to read some of these to you guys because I think that's so powerful and kind of illustrates just how massively impactful this idea of simply keep going can be for us. So the first one is in stock market performance. There was a study by Fidelity Investments that found that the best performing accounts were often those of either deceased individuals or those that had forgotten that they had the account in the first place. This really underscores the power of long-term investing. And, we talk about the stock market over and over again. And, is it a time to buy or is it a time to sell? Is it a bear market? Is it a bull market? If we just endure through the stock market, we'll have the best performing portfolios around. And I think it's so powerful to look at that. Another fun one I thought was really cool is podcast longevity. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you know that I have a podcast. I've been working on it for over a year now. And according to data from Apple Podcasts, about 50% of podcasts never make it past episode 7. And here's the more remarkable one, is to be in the top 10% of podcasts, all you have to do is produce 21 episodes. So by simply sticking through when most people drop out at episode 7 and getting to the 21st episode, just by doing that, you're in the top 10% of podcasts. Marriage longevity. Research shows that divorce rates tend to decrease significantly after 10 years of marriage. Couples who make it past the 10-year mark are more likely to stay together long term. Career promotions. A study from the National Bureau of Economic Research suggests that employees who stay with the same company for at least 4 years are 45% more likely to receive a promotion compared to those who frequently change jobs. Wealth accumulation. The National Study of Millionaires by Ramsey Solutions found that the average millionaire reaches the millionaire status after about 28 years of saving and investing diligently, highlighting the importance of long-term financial discipline. Health benefits and long-term exercise. So the American Heart Association states that people who maintain regular exercise routines for 10 years or more have a 40% lower risk of heart disease compared to those who exercise intermittently. Academic persistence. Students who complete at least 20% of their coursework in the first half of their program are 85% more likely to graduate than those who do not. Business growth. Companies that survive for more than 5 years typically experience exponential growth in revenue, often seeing a doubling of revenue every 5 to 6 years after that. We just have to get to 5 years, folks. Just get to 5 years. Workplace loyalty. Researchers by the Society of Human Resource Management indicate that employees who stay with a company for 10 years or more are twice as likely to be in a leadership position compared to those with shorter tenures. So if you want to be in a leadership position, you'll increase your odds of doing that by double if you just stick with your current job. Social media success. I love this one. Studies show that Instagram accounts that post consistently over 3 years see follower growth rates 100% higher than those that post inconsistently. And that one is especially relevant to me because I am trusting the process and I find myself over and over again getting discouraged about how slow the growth is, how slow the audience growth is, and things like that. And what a powerful reminder that we just have to trust the process, stick with it, and if we post consistently for 3 years, we can see follower growth rates 100% higher than inconsistent posting. And then investment in skills. People who continuously develop their skills over a decade see a 50% higher earning potential than those who do not engage in long-term skill development. And so those are just a few examples about how powerful this concept of endurance can be. One of the things I want everybody to know is that I am by no means a gifted athlete or a gifted businessman or have any resources or talents or anything like that other than what every other average person has. I think I've been blessed with a ability to just endure and to simply keep going. And so I want to share some of the tips and the tricks that I learned through my experience in my 100-mile ultra, to hopefully plant some seeds with people. And the first one is that if we're going to stick something out for a long time, and if we're going to practice this idea of endurance, we have to start. And so we have to have the courage to sign up, to leap, to quit the job, to start the business, to accept the promotion, to open up the new market, whatever it might be. Even standing at the starting line is remarkable. I had a conversation on my podcast with a guest named Josh Rosenthal, and he talks about how the starting line of 100-mile races is a celebration in and of itself. And I believe that applies also to new businesses and promotions and new markets and new relationships and, opening up that investment account and whatever it might be. But having the courage to take that first step and to actually start is remarkably, remarkably powerful. You need to know that situations are never going to be perfect, but you have to do it anyway. When I was going into the Buffalo Run 100, I was battling an injury. And for 5 weeks leading up to it, my training wasn't going well because I was super injured. I was doing everything I could do to, stretch and heal and make it work. But I knew that it was important to me enough that I needed to do it anyway. And so when I started the race, I knew that my injury would flare up, that it would be inevitable. And at mile 12, we actually have on camera me saying that we're going to battle the leg all day. But my point is that I never would have even had an opportunity to endure or to get to that finish line had I not started. Similarly, when I started Ascent Digital, I had worked for a company for 10 years, and I was at the peak of my career. I had the corner office, I had the job title, I had the salary that went with it. But more importantly, I had a pregnant wife at home and 2 young kids and a tremendous amount of pressure as a father to support them and provide for them and be the provider that I needed to be for my household. The timing was far from perfect for me to walk away from all of that and start from scratch and start a new company. But I did it anyway. And whatever it is in your life that you're thinking, that's been on your mind or that you've been considering taking the leap on, I'm here to tell you right now, do it. You will not regret it. And it will give you an opportunity to endure and to succeed and to see it through. Do not wait for the situation to be perfect. It never will be perfect. So whatever that thing is that you're thinking about doing, you need to do it right away. But the other important thing is that you can't do it alone. You're going to need a crew. One of the questions I would encourage you to consider is what goal do you want to accomplish? And are you surrounding yourself with people that you want to be like? there's that old adage that show me your five closest friends and I can tell you how you'll become the sixth. And how influential our community is on us and our mindset and our trajectories in life and our perspectives and these things like that. It's so important to know that even though we're all on our own journeys, we're all on journeys together. And there's this adage in running that I just love. And the idea is that if we want to go fast, go alone. But if we want to go far, go together. And so the next most important step is after we start, we have to figure out the community that we want to build around us and the crew. When I ran my 100-miler, it was a really, really profound and powerful experience for me because I had my wife and my dad were kind of the lead of our crew. But I also had a really, really good friend named Shauna Rocha who was running with me. And then I had my mom who was watching my kids, and I had my other employees and my business partner were also crewing. And I just had this immense amount of support and crew around me, and everybody had different responsibilities. But what it did is it allowed me to focus on enduring and continuing to move forward and putting one foot in front of the other over and over and over again. And there are things that having a crew help you with in so many ways. One of which I think is accountability. It's very difficult to tap out and to quit when you know you're going to let other people down, but they also bring really valuable perspectives and ideas to the table. When you're in a tremendous amount of pain and in the middle of the night and trying to run 100 miles, the last thing on your mind is food or your jacket or if your headlamp's charged or whatever it might be. And so having a crew around me to be thinking of those other things was immensely valuable. Similarly, at Ascent Digital and in all of our companies, I've found that the biggest contributor to my success has been hiring people that are much more talented than myself and then getting out of their way. I've been very intentional with my business partner, Brittany. She's very operational minded, very analytical, and really complements me almost perfectly so that I can have big picture ideas and dream and kind of be the visionary. But we also hire really talented people in every other department. Some of the most talented videographers in the world are on our team. Very creative people with amazing skill sets. Our content marketers and our social media experts are brilliant and always bring these amazing, cool, fun ideas to the table. My account management team, has these different approaches to customer service and retention and pricing and these things like that I never would have had, all the way to branding and website development and you name it. But the point is that if I would have ever thought in a million years that I could build a company like Ascent Digital alone, it would have been about the most foolish endeavor I could think of. And I also can't imagine running 100 miles alone. I know there are people that do it, and I know there are people that build big companies solo. But for most of us, we need people around us. We need a powerful crew. We need a powerful support system. So one of the things I want you to think about is what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Get help in the areas that you're weak. And remember that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. The other idea that I found when I was running my race was I had a time goal in mind. And I think it was about mile 60 when I realized that time goal was no longer within reach, which was discouraging. I had trained for 6 months for this thing. I had poured my heart and soul into it, and I realized that I would not get the time goal, that I wanted to. But I also realized that trajectory is far more important than velocity. And what I mean by that is that the direction we're headed matters way more than the speed with which we're going. And I think that applies to running, but it also applies to life. There are times in the 100-mile ultra where it was all I could do to walk. And walking is probably even an overstatement, limping, or we call it death marching. But just doing whatever we could figure out to put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. To call it running is actually almost comical. It is comical. It was just walking. Similarly with business, I find myself very regularly and very often getting discouraged with how fast Ascent Digital is growing. And then I'm reminded that growth is what matters And the direction we're headed is what matters way more than the speed with which we're going there. And so take a look at your life, take a look at your business, take a look at your career trajectory, your finances, or whatever it might be. And if you're moving in the right direction, that's a win. Because if you're moving in the right direction, you can keep enduring, you can keep going, you can keep moving forward. If you're moving in the wrong direction, obviously you need to make some changes and you need to change your trajectory. But I'm going to encourage everybody to stop worrying about how quickly you're moving. Stop paying attention to your velocity. Just moving is enough. No matter how slowly it is, you will get to the finish line. You will get to where your goals are. It's just a matter of enduring and choosing to stay the course and to continue to put one foot in front of the other, or put the $50 a month into your investment account, or chip away at your debt, or to keep working on those projects towards your promotion or starting the new business, or whatever it might be. Movement matters way more than speed, and the direction we're headed matters way more than the velocity that we're headed. So pay attention to your trajectory and do your best to ignore your velocity. Also, I want to mention to not compare your speed with anybody else's. When you're running an ultra, it's sometimes easy to get caught up in what place you're in, or who's pacing you, or who's passing you, or if you've passed people or whatever. And I think the same applies to business and in life, especially now as we're all so connected with social media and we get these insights into everybody else's highlight reels. Well, I'm here to tell you right now that everybody's fighting a battle that we know nothing about. And some people have advantages that we know nothing about. And some people have head starts that we know nothing about. Or they're fighting, other battles and challenges behind us, that we don't get to see. And so try to not compare your speed to anybody else's. Don't compare your journey to anybody else's journey. There's this idea that, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10, because you're in totally different books and it really doesn't matter. Pay attention to yourself, pay attention to the direction that you're headed. And as we had talked about earlier, though, this idea that the first step is to sign up and just starting, similarly with your trajectory and the direction that you're headed, planning is not doing. Planning something is not moving. Planning is zero movement, zero velocity, and zero trajectory. I'm not saying not to plan at all, but get into execution mode as quickly as you can and move forward, because that's more important than, having kind of that perfect setup. The other thing I want to talk about is how careful we need to be about what we give our energy to. I have a firm belief that what we pay attention to gets amplified, and that we actually have control and capabilities of determining our own realities. I'm midway through a book right now called Mind Your Mindset, and it is a fascinating read about our neural pathways and how we can actually rewire our brains and change the stories that we tell ourselves. One of the most remarkable things for me when I was running the 100-miler, and then also in other ultras, is that depending on people's mindsets and our attitudes, we can be experiencing the exact same thing, but having completely different experiences, if that makes sense. I remember very clearly there were some times on some very steep hill climbs where I would, I've always been kind of a positive guy, and I would encourage people when I was passing them and say, good work, keep up the good work, you're crushing it, way to go. And it was so profound to observe how people that kind of lean into the positivity and complimenting one another, how their energy levels were compared to the people that weren't, and that were discouraged and negative and, complaining about how steep the hill climb was, or the conditions, or the weather, or whatever it might be. Because the words we speak matter. And when we're telling people that they're doing a good job, you're also telling yourself that you're doing a good job. And when it comes to whether it's running an ultra or building a business or whatever it might be, we have to be critically careful about what we give our energy to. We're living in a world now that is so saturated and distracting, and there's all of these things that are demanding of our energy. And if we're not careful, we'll be out of energy. And especially in the business world, there, we kind of call it like, shiny syndrome, or, you can get distracted easily and want to send your energy elsewhere. Stick within your niche, stick with what you're good at, and put your energy into yourselves. I also am going to encourage everybody to not worry whatsoever about what the competition is doing, or, what other people are doing elsewhere in the country. Give your energy to yourself. The other one thing I want to talk about is the incredible power of gratitude, and how a gratitude mindset literally very, 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 in a very, very enormous way impacts our realities. At the office, every Monday, we do our all hands meeting, and I do company updates and a financial update and some things like that. But we always finish it with a gratitude roundtable. And what we do is we go around the table and we talk about what we're grateful for that day. And it usually has nothing to do with work. It usually is about life. But what it does is it shifts our perspectives to the things that are going well in our lives, and it shifts our perspectives away from the things that aren't going well. And just by doing that, you now open yourself up to this new perspective of these great things and how good things are. And when we focus on gratitude, it is immensely, immensely powerful. One of my favorite things to do when I'm running ultras is to thank the volunteers and the aid station people. And it's almost a selfish endeavor, because I'm so grateful that they're there, and I genuinely am, that I thank them for being there. And it's so cool to see the reactions when, you're in Sufferfest and deep into the pain cave, and you're telling, some volunteer at an aid station in the middle of nowhere, thank you for being here. How much that impacts your own energy levels and those of the people around you. And then the other thing is, when I've been running, I've been paying attention to how beautiful the settings are, and, speaking that out loud of like, wow, look how cool this is. Look how beautiful the mountains are. And, the trail is, or the water system, or whatever. And it is profoundly powerful how much that energizes you and those around you when you intentionally practice gratitude, because I truly believe that the things we pay attention to matter. If we pay attention to how beautiful the scenery is, or how fun the race is, or how good our business is doing, or how great that win was that the company had yesterday, that's where we will amplify, those realities. If we give our energy to the blister, or the hurt ankle, or, how rocky the trail is, or the one unhappy client that we have, or whatever it might be, it profoundly shifts your perspective of reality. And that is all you can pay attention to now, is these negative things. To try to articulate how truly powerful our minds are, I wanted to share also some stats about the brain. Because I think our minds are way more powerful than we can even comprehend. So the first one I want to talk about is the placebo effect. I'm sure we're familiar with it. I'm sure you guys have heard the term. But studies show that the placebo effect, which is where patients experience real improvement in their condition after receiving a treatment with no therapeutic value whatsoever, demonstrates the power of our mind. So you ready for this? 40% of patients experience significant improvements in their symptoms due to the placebo effect. So just by thinking that we're doing something that's helping our ailments, 40% of patients experience significant improvement in their symptoms. 40% of patients experience significant improvement in their symptoms because they think it's going to help them. That is remarkable to me, how powerful our brains are. A growth versus a fixed mindset. As it relates to academic performance, Carol Dweck's research on growth versus fixed mindsets found that students with a growth mindset, believing that intelligence and the abilities can be developed, perform better academically than those with a fixed mindset. For example, students who adopted a growth mindset were shown to achieve 50% higher grades over the compared to their fixed mindset peers. And then the resilience. People with growth mindsets are more resilient to setbacks and are 30% more likely to embrace challenges and persevere in the face of difficulties. Our brains are powerful as it relates to mindfulness and stress reduction. Regular mindfulness practice can reduce stress, anxiety, and depression by 58%. Mindfulness meditation has been shown to reduce the density of the amygdala, the brain's stress and fear center, leading to better emotional regulation and a calmer mind. And also our cognitive function. Mindfulness enhances cognitive function, including working memory and attention, by as much as 16%, improving overall mental performance. This one might be my favorite, but visualization and performance. As it relates to athletic performance, visualization or mental rehearsal, which is where you're visualizing yourself doing the thing, is widely used by athletes to improve performance. Research indicates that visualization can enhance muscle memory and motor skills by up to 45%, almost as much as physical practice itself. Just thinking about doing the thing enhances muscle memory and motor skills by up to 45% and is almost as impactful as the actual physical practice itself. I hope you understand how remarkably powerful it is that if you just visualize yourself doing the thing, it is almost as impactful as you actually doing the thing and practicing it. Also, and this one is also one of my favorites, recovery from injury. Athletes who use visualization techniques during recovery from an injury can accelerate healing and reduce rehab time by up to 30%. Just thinking about healing the ailment can reduce rehab time by 30%. I just think that is absolutely remarkable. Our brains also impact our health. So, positive thinking and health, lifespans. People with a positive outlook on life tend to live longer. Studies have shown that optimists have a 15% longer lifespan on average than pessimists and are 50% less likely to suffer from cardiovascular diseases. So just by being an optimist, you reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease by 50%. And your immune system. Positive emotions and a hopeful mindset can boost the immune system, making individuals more resistant to infections and diseases. Laughter, in particular, has been shown to increase immune function by up to 40%. Just laughing increases our immune system by up to 40%. And then I was talking a little bit earlier about the book I'm reading, which is Mind Your Mindset, and our neuroplasticity and brain adaptability. The human brain is capable of neuroplasticity, meaning it can reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. This adaptability is driven by experiences, learning, and even deliberate changes in thinking patterns. Practicing new skills or adopting new beliefs can lead to physical changes in the brain, enhancing cognitive ability and emotional resilience. Self-talk and performance. Positive self-talk can improve athletic performance by 10% to 15%. Athletes who engage in constructive internal dialogue experience less anxiety, greater focus, and improved performance outcomes. Anybody in here want to lose weight? The perception of exercise. You ready for this? A study revealed that hotel housekeepers who were told that their work was good exercise lost weight, lowered their blood pressure, and reduced their waist-to-hip ratio, compared to those who were not given that information purely due to the mindset shift regarding their daily activities. So think about that for a minute. Two sample groups of housekeepers. One group is told that what they're doing is good exercise. The other one was told that, what they're doing is just their job. The group that was told that what they're doing is good exercise lost weight, lowered their blood pressure, and reduced their waist-to-hip ratio, which is just remarkable because they were all engaging in the exact same activity and doing the exact same thing. Tells you how powerful our brains are and how powerful the information we give ourselves is. Gratitude and happiness. Practicing gratitude can increase happiness levels by up to 25%. Regularly reflecting on things to be grateful for can also reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety and improve our overall mental well-being. It also impacts social connectivity. Gratitude enhances relationships and social bonds, as people who express gratitude are more likely to be viewed positively and to form meaningful connections with others. And then lastly, as it relates to our brain, economic success. People with a mindset focused on growth and abundance are more likely to accumulate wealth. A study on millionaires showed that those who believed in their ability to learn and adapt were more successful in building and maintaining wealth compared to those with a more fixed mindset. The influence our mindset has on our lives is profound. And I think that if we can figure out how to combine the power of our mind with this concept of endurance, we literally could be limitless, and there could potentially be, well, we can accomplish way more than we ever could comprehend. So be careful what you be very, very careful about what you give your energy to, because your mindset matters, and your mind is tremendously impactful on literally every single component of your life. The other thing I want everyone to know is that you're way stronger than you think you are, and that you can do more than you think you can. I think that if people had any idea how capable they were and how resilient they were and how far that you could go, if you knew how much greatness was within you, you wouldn't have any of the fears that you have already. I never in a million years thought that I could run 100 miles until I tried and failed my first time, which was at a 24-hour race. And I had a goal of running 100 miles, and I ran 100 kilometers. I ran 67 miles, I think. But it taught me that it was possible. And once I knew that it was possible, I wasn't going to let anything stop me. And I think that if we all understood what really is possible and what we're actually capable of, you would be uninhibited and you would move forward in such a more confident and excited way to pursue your goals, whether it's, a business goal or a physical goal or whatever it might be. It's like I talked about earlier, but I am by no means a gifted athlete. And if I can run 100 miles, I genuinely believe everybody can. I am not a savvy entrepreneur. I studied business in school, and I studied marketing, and I went to college and all of that stuff. I've been putting in work, don't get me wrong, but I don't have money. I don't have a network or, resources that other people don't have or anything like that. And if I can start a company and get it off the ground, so can you. My point is that I have no idea what I'm doing, and neither does anybody else around us. The difference between those that do and those that don't is that the ones that do simply did. And I don't know how to explain it more simply than that, but you're more capable than you think. And if you have some fear to execute or some fear to take the leap or some fear to sign up for the thing or whatever it might be, and you're looking at all these success stories around you and thinking like they've got something you didn't have or their situation was different or whatever it might be, stop those thought processes as quickly as you can, because you are capable. You're resilient, you're strong, you can go way further than you think you can. And I wish that I had a stronger way to articulate just how truly, truly remarkable every single human being is. It's just that you have to have the courage to let yourself try. You have to let yourself take the leap and do the scary thing and get out of your comfort zone. Because if you do, you will prove yourself right. And you will prove yourself that you can go forever, that you can start the business, you can get the promotion, you can get the girl, you can start the family, you can run 100 miles, whatever it is. I promise you, you are capable of it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I do want you to know that you are capable of it. The other thing about the 100-mile ultra that I ran is it's called the Buffalo Run 100, and I've developed an extreme affinity for buffalo since then. So buffalo are the only animal in the world that runs into storms. Every other animal runs away from storms. And by doing that, what happens is that the buffalo are in the storm for the least amount of time. Animals that run away from the storm end up being in the storm longer because the storm is moving with them and they're in the storm longer. And what a powerful reminder that in our own lives, in our own storms, that we need to turn and we need to face them head on. I battle anxiety in a really, really, really extreme way. And my anxiety presents itself to me in remote wilderness adventures. And so what did I do? I started running ultra marathons because that was my way of facing my anxiety head on and running right into it. But we have a saying at Ascent Digital and a belief in our workplace that we have to deal with small problems before they become big problems. And so I'm going to encourage everybody here to be like the buffalo. Think about the storm that's happening in your life. Think about the problem that you're putting off or the conversation you're putting under the rug or the call you don't want to make or whatever it might be. Turn, be like the buffalo, and face it head on, because by doing that, you're going to get through the storm way quicker. I know that it seems easier to turn and run away, but you're just going to prolong your time in the storm. So be like the buffalo, turn it and face your storms head on, because on the other side of your storm is an amazing reality. But the other thing I want everyone to be aware of is that it's going to be indescribably hard. Any pursuit that's worthwhile is going to come with difficulty. Any goal that you've set, any place that you want to go in your life, anything that you want to build, any accomplishment that you want to achieve is going to be incredibly difficult. When I was going into the 100-miler, I would keep telling my buddy Sean and my wife, all we have to do is simply not quit, and we will get there. And the one thing I know for certain is that it's going to hurt. I don't know when the pain's going to happen. I don't know how bad it's going to be. I don't know where it's going to come from. I know for a fact, though, that it's going to be very, very, very difficult. And what a powerful mindset for us to have, because as we're going into businesses or relationships or goals, whether it's running 100 miles or starting a business or sticking out a marriage or whatever it might be, if we go into it knowing for certainty that it's going to be hard, when those hard things come, when the hardships arise, we're not going to be surprised. It's like, well, yeah, what did you expect? You wanted to quit your job and start a company from scratch with no capital in a competitive market in a very competitive industry, and it's hard. Well, yeah. What did you expect? You want to beat the odds and stay married and raise a family, and it's hard. Exactly. That's supposed to be. Anything worth doing is going to come with difficulty. If it were easy, everybody would already have it and you wouldn't want it anyway. So prepare yourself for the hardship. Know that the difficulty is going to come, and then embrace it. And know that when things get difficult, you're capable and you're ready and you can handle it, and that it'll be worth it. And know that it's going to get better. One of the coolest things about running ultras, there's a saying that says, in a marathon, things go to hell and then it ends. In an ultra marathon, things go to hell and then come back and go to hell and then come back and go to hell and then come back. And sometimes many, many, many times. But it does get better. And so if we pay attention to the mile that we're in, or the step that we're in, or the minute that we're in, or the day that we're in, or the quarter, or the financial moment that we're in, and just get through that moment. Don't look too far to the horizon. Just keep going, because it will get better. The pain will go away. Your customer service issue is going to solve. Your finances are going to build and grow. You're going to get the promotion. You're going to figure it out. It will get better. And I think if you know those two things, that difficulty is guaranteed and it will get better for sure, you're going to be able to handle it so much more powerfully when the difficulty arises, because you're ready for it, you're prepared for it, and you know it will end. And it's such a great way to go through life and business and 100-milers and families and whatever it might be. There's a video of me at mile 91 that I'm going to play when I do this as a presentation. And I look like I aged 20 years. I've got bags under my eyes and I am just struggling. But I filmed to my camera and I go, we're at mile 91, only, single digits, 9 miles to go. And we're going to finish this dang thing. I also learned a very valuable lesson from my friend Sean, my running buddy who ran the 100-miler with me. And it relates to our self-talk and our mindsets and all of these things. But when things get really hard, what we tell ourselves now is that this is where we get better. And this is our opportunity for growth. We knew the hardship was going to come. We know that it'll end at some point. But while we're in it, it'll help us survive it if we know that this is where we get better. So when I'm exercising and I'm running and my legs start hurting and I'm out of breath and I'm sweating and I'm hot, I know I'm getting better. I know I'm improving, and it helps so much to deal with that pain and that hardship and the challenge that we're going through. And similarly with the business, when we have a challenge that we have to overcome, or a problem that we have to solve, or those really, really long days, that's where we get better. And so remember that when things get hard, that's when you get better. And how grateful should we be for that opportunity to get better? Because not everybody's as lucky as us to have those opportunities. And so remember that that's where we get better. And it's such a great way to frame it and a great mindset to have as we're navigating those hardships. Also, why not me and why not now? Why not you and why not now? People way less capable and way less talented than you are already doing the thing that you're dreaming of. It's just that they're doing it. The difference between those that do and those that don't is that those that do simply did. And so I want you to remove any ideas of self-doubt out of your mind. I want to remove any imposter syndrome. I'm terrified of doing this right now. But why not me and why not now? Why not you and why not now? For me to run 100 miles, if you understand how crazy that is because of my lack of physical ability, my fear of running on trails, all of these things, the odds are stacked against me in 1,000 ways. And if I can do it, literally anybody can. And it applies to so many different ways. And so I just want you to be thinking of that when you're held back or you're hesitant for your goal. Why not you? And why not now? Because people way less capable than you and people way less talented than you are already doing it. So do it too. And then lastly, the pain of quitting is greater than the pain of finishing. And it's okay to not be okay, but keep moving forward. Solve today's problems today. Run the mile that you're in. I knew going into Buffalo Run that the second I crossed the starting line, the only option was going to be to finish, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I quit. And so no matter how much pain I was in for the 30 hours that I ran, I knew that that wasn't nearly as painful as it would have been if I would have quit and given up on my dreams. And, I think as we're looking at our lives, and if it's our marriages or our businesses or whatever it might be, it is so much more painful to quit than it is to just keep going. Even though keeping going is painful, just remember that you didn't come this far to only come this far, and that to run the mile that you're in, because the next mile might feel easier. There might be an aid station up ahead. You might get that big client. One of my favorite things about business and entrepreneurship is that I know I'm always one handshake away from a life-changing opportunity, and that keeps me going. I haven't had it yet, but I'm one handshake away from a life-changing opportunity. And it's such a cool way to know that we can't quit. We can't stop. We have to keep going. We have to keep pushing forward, because the pain of quitting is going to be so much more than the pain of continuing on. So really what I want everyone to know is that you are remarkable. And if you simply don't quit, if you practice endurance, and if you harness the power of your mind, you will accomplish more than your wildest dreams. I know that when we were all kids, people said that you can do anything you set your mind to, and to dream big and all of these things. And I think as we get older, we lose sight of that. I think that the world jades us, and we fit into social norms, and we kind of do what we're supposed to do, and we fall into line. I want to remind everybody that you can do anything you set your mind to. Just because you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, you can do anything you set your mind to. And so don't forget that. Endure, keep going. Through endurance, we conquer. Your mind is remarkably powerful. You're capable of far more than you comprehend, far more than you realize. And if you just keep going, and if you just don't quit, you'll accomplish your dreams. So thanks for humoring me, and go chase those dreams. I can't wait to see it.